Hello and welcome to the Energy and Consciousness Summit. I'm Sheila Derfler, your host, and today I have with me Joann Fuller. And Joann is an advanced hypnotherapist and confidence coach. And welcome, Joann. I'm so glad you're here.
I am as well. I'm excited to be here.
So would you just tell the people who are listening a little bit more about your work?
Sure, absolutely. I'd love to. So I do advanced hypnotherapy in the modality that I use is called RTT, and it's Rapid Transformational Therapy. So basically, the vehicle through this type of therapy we use is hypnosis. There's a lot of little modalities mixed within that, like there's a little bit of cognitive behavioral therapy, there's a little bit of NLP, a little bit of even energy work, shamanism, all sort of blended into this beautiful little rapid transformational therapy. So that's primarily what I use with my clients, but I also like to dive deep into a little bit of the neuroscience behind heart and brain coherence. So I do incorporate some of the HeartMath techniques. And for me, it's so incredibly powerful. And I must say, out of all the different modalities I've experienced, the simple breathing sort of alignment techniques that HeartMath provides is what truly changed my life. Just absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, I'm familiar with HeartMath, and back in June of last year, a friend who was studying HeartMath did some practice with me. And so I had 5 sessions and it was so powerful.
Oh, great. Yes. Yeah. So I do, I took their resilience coaching certification. So it's a little different. It does incorporate all of those techniques, but we really work on raising your resilience. So anytime you're in that energy draining state, we want to shift, and we want to shift into energy renewing. And we can do that just through feeling, just through emotion and feeling and a little bit of breath work. And it's so, so, so powerful. And not only that, but you really, or at least for me, I really am able to connect to that intuitive part of me when you reach that coherent state. As you know, like we've both done the Dr. Joe retreats, when you hit that coherence, it's sort of everything opens up and it's just phenomenal. You can heal yourself physically, emotionally, energetically. It's just, yeah, awesome stuff.
Yeah, and I think that's something that in some of the interviews where we've touched on heart coherence with one modality or the other, that piece hasn't been exactly articulated, where when we're in heart coherence, we're tapping into like all the healing, the innate healing ability of our body and our whole system. And so it's like our inner healer gets released through this. So
absolutely. Well, and physiologically, when you tap into that heart coherent state, you shift from your parasympathetic nervous system, which is your fight or flight, into your that's backwards. You shift from your sympathetic nervous system, which is your fight or flight, right into your parasympathetic, which is that healing, energy renewing. So yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. So maybe for the people who are listening, can you maybe share some tangible results that you saw in your life once you started incorporating heart coherence?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So for me, my journey started several years ago, and it was more of an emotional journey. I kind of went through a divorce, and then I had a relationship for a long time, and we went through a really bad breakup. And so through my divorce, I kind of lost who I was. I really lost Joann. And who is Joann? I was mom and I was a wife, and that was it. And so through that divorce, I'm like, I had no identity left, and I did a lot of soul searching. There was a lot of inner child healing that I needed to sort of take care of. And actually, I'm kind of going off course here, and RTT did a lot of healing for me in that. But coming back to the heart coherence, just tapping into that any time of the day where I felt that anxiety or that slight, I wouldn't say depression, because I wasn't in a depression, but just that draining state, that uncertainty, that kind of blah. What is there to life? What am I supposed to be doing? Who am I? And tapping into that breath, tapping into the emotions behind it, I was able to connect to something greater. So whatever that, people will call it, some people might call it God, I call it the universe, source energy, the quantum field. I'm able to tap into that. And once I tap into that, there is no wanting anymore, because you're filled with such love and such acceptance that nothing else matters, and my whole energetic body just shifts. And then once I'm in that shifted state, all these possibilities are now presented to me. Whereas I was vibrating at a much lower place prior, sort of very drained, kind of meh, for lack of a better word, and when you're in that state, you can't see possibility, because that's all you feel is that, So it created a huge shift for me. And I would do it, 20, 30 times a day. And what that ultimately did for me was shifted my baseline. So if my baseline was at meh, or just, and I'm sure a lot of you can resonate with that feeling throughout the day. You're just kind of like, you're not feeling great. You're not feeling terrible, but just kind of bored, maybe even a little lost, maybe even a little anxious about something. That was my baseline. So think about it as your thermostat. So say you have your thermostat set at 65 degrees Fahrenheit. Regardless of the temperature outside, if it's 30 degrees or 80 degrees, it's going to sit right at 64 to 66 degrees. So if my baseline is at meh, that's where it's going to sit all day, regardless. But by doing the HeartMath, the heart coherence work, that shifted, and doing it often. So our subconscious mind and the way that we're programmed, we learn by repetition. So the more we do that, the more we start shifting that feeling. So as I'm doing the HeartMath, I'm experiencing the emotions of gratitude. And I'm thinking about everything I'm grateful for, down to my eyesight, down to the ability to walk, my house, my kids, my dog. But not only thinking it, truly feeling it. So I always tell my clients, whatever inspires you, if that's your child or your pet or a special place, like lock onto that and then go back to the way that felt. Really embody that feeling. And it's to the point where I would just be crying tears of joy because I felt those same emotions. So over time, doing that work, you shift your baseline from meh to all of a sudden gratitude, and that's getting higher and higher. And so my normal baseline throughout the day now is just grateful, and I'm just so overjoyed and so happy and really not wanting for anything. And so the great thing with this is once you're sort of resonating at that level, that frequency of gratitude and that frequency of love, that's what you're going to start seeing, right? So your RAS, your what's it called? Reticular activating system is going to look for whatever it is that you're thinking, whatever it is you're feeling. So now you start seeing things that you're grateful for. Now you start drawing opportunities to you. So it's just, it's simply magical, really. And it just really shifted my life.
Yeah. And I can relate to the motherhood piece and the meh, because even though, my journey, my life was great. Like it was good. It was better than what I had grown up in, right?
Yeah, sure.
There was, the constant stress we live in can make our world shrink, right?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
all the years as a mom, I was, overwhelmed with
Yeah.
all the shit that has to get done for school, all the demands that, teachers and schedules and all that BS. Like to me, that was BS. And I had so much resistance to all that. And then,
Yeah.
So it's sort of like my life had become, all these external things demanding me to be a certain way, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then in that you do lose yourself. Your dreams get set aside because you're just focused on the daily tasks. You're just getting shit done.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
yeah, so
Or at least for me, I lost my identity as to who I was outside of mom, So that was a huge time in my life, and going through the divorce as well. And it was just a big shift that I had to really deal with. And then going into a relationship after that, and it was a dynamic relationship, and it was a great relationship, and we're still great friends, but it was a bad breakup. But it was amazing in the sense that it was the catalyst for me to really get in there and heal the bullshit that I was avoiding, and that's really what it was. And I knew exactly what it was in this relationship as it happened. So coming out of that relationship, there was a lot of insecurity. There was a lot of inner child sort of healing that I know I needed to do. And it had to go back. It always goes back to childhood, right? It always does, and even if you had a great childhood, which not a lot of us do anymore, but there are some, it doesn't matter if, you don't have abuse or you weren't, neglected or whatever. It's just your perception. So as a child, if mom and dad had to work, which most parents do, they leave the house and the kids are usually home alone. I grew up in the 70s, kids were home alone. And then you would feel like you're abandoned. Well, I must not be as important because mom and dad can't be here. And they're working, they're not neglecting you, but that's what my perception was, And so there was a lot of abandonment issues I was dealing with, a lot of I must not be good enough I must not be good enough for them to love if they can't be home to spend time with me. So I took that into my personal relationships. And I knew it, but it was so uncomfortable that I didn't want to admit to it or deal with it. And, it's interesting because the way the universe works is you're going to be presented with these things and you know it. And you have the choice. Well, you can take it on and heal that part of you or ignore it, sweep that right under the rug, keep going on the way you're going. But eventually the universe or source or whatever, they're going to throw a monkey wrench in your system and go, okay, now it's time. So that you have no choice. There's no more sweeping under the rug, but now you got to face it, and that's what I had to do. And so I did a lot of the Dr. Joe work and through that and a lot of, the deep meditations and all of that. And I had several mystical experiences that really changed my perception of what life was like. And through that, I found RTT and I hired a coach and he changed my life. I experienced such immense healing in such a quick period of time that I thought, this is it, man. This is what I want to do. So prior to this work, I was a yoga teacher, a meditation teacher. I was a personal trainer and loved it. And I still love it all. But I knew there was something deeper and I knew there was something greater that I wanted to experience. So through rapid transformational therapy, I healed myself. I had, prior to that, coming out of that relationship, I had extremely low self-confidence, extremely low self-esteem. Wasn't good enough, wasn't young enough, wasn't smart enough, all of this stuff. And I think I only did a total of 3 RTT sessions. I did a 3-month coaching package. And actually that's how I model my packages now because it was so effective. I came out of there with just complete confidence in my authenticity of who I am and, the gifts that I have and the love that I have to share. And I no longer have that fear of sharing it, of fear of judgment or fear of rejection, which is a big one as well. And it was just so amazing. I thought, that's it. I want to do this. I want to train in this. And did it. And even, and as all of you probably know, when you train in a particular modality, it heals you even more. You're going in to heal others, but you're receiving even more of the healing. So it was such a beautiful experience. Yeah, it was fantastic.
Yeah, our journey then becomes completely infused in the work we do. So.
Oh yeah. I mean, I learn from my clients every day. Every day, it's just amazing to me. It's such a beautiful experience.
Yeah. And, with what people are experiencing now, like globally, collectively, do you have any insights about how either, HeartMath or RTT or the combination of both, or, what is going to help people shift, or what's going to support people right now? What are you seeing people need?
Oh, absolutely. So I'm seeing a lot of anxiety happening. And, I honestly feel like there is a shift happening. There's a shift going on, and people are feeling it, and they're not really sure what's going on or what to do about it. I have several clients that are experiencing a lot more anxiety around COVID, but also around sort of their lives have been changed the past year. And it's almost as if they're experiencing the need to sort of experience a different path, but it's the unknown, and they're uncertain, and they're nervous, and they're going through the same feelings I was going through. I'm not good enough, and what am I doing? I have this, this is my path now, even though it's not fulfilling for them anymore. And they have this desire over here, but there's so much anxiety about everything that's unsettled. So one of the main tools that I use, well, both of them actually. So RTT for sure. Let's get in there. Let's figure out the root cause of the anxiety. And again, it'll come back to childhood. And from my experience in my clients, it's usually a situation in childhood where they didn't feel safe, or they didn't have, they weren't able to predict what was going to happen next. So as a mom, and I'm sure a lot of moms out there, kids sort of thrive on routine. If they know what's going to come up next, they do better. But when everything is uncertain, it's very unsettling for them. So I've had several clients where they've had childhoods where they just didn't know what was going to happen next. Mom and dad were a little messed up. They had some stuff going on, and it left them in this state of just not knowing, and this need to control their environment, to have something they can sort of relate to, something they can predict. So I usually take my clients back in RTT to childhood, where the root cause of this anxiety stemmed from, and we heal that part of them. I send them home with a bespoke recording, all to do with whatever it is they need to hear to heal that part of them. And that anxiety sort of melts away over time. And then the second thing I do is I do the HeartMath. The HeartMath stuff is priceless, and it's so simple. I love it. So I send them an inner balance trainer. And basically what that does is you clip it on your ear, and it measures their heart rate variability. And so that is the space between each beat. And so when you're in an incoherent state, that would be an energy draining situation. So anxiety, depression, irritability, jealousy, meh, all of that. That's all energy draining. And so ideally, even from a physiological healthy point of view, not just sort of mindset and mentality, you want to get over to a renewed. And not only that, but you want to be able to regulate. You want to be able to regulate the way you feel, because ultimately we are in charge of how we feel. Sure, we can be stimulated by outside circumstances, but ultimately, once again, we can come back in here and really regulate what we're feeling. So I teach them all of that. And the inner balance trainer is great because they get to sort of see, not quantify, but see the results. They get to actually see the proof of when they're in coherence and when they're incoherent. So usually you'll start off and it's incoherent, and you'll see sort of, and I'm sure you've seen this sort of in hospitals or in movies, where the heart rate graph is sort of jagged like this, and that's incoherent. Your heart rate is not smooth. And in coherence, you'll look at the graph, it's on your app on your phone, and in coherence, it's like this. It's just beautiful. Everything's flowing, everything's syncing. And so what happens is you start being able to recognize, when you see the graph smoothly, you recognize, okay, how did that feel in that moment? So you start to understand, okay, that's that feeling. So when you don't have the trainer with you, and say someone cuts you off on the freeway and you get aggravated, right? And maybe flip them off, or give them the bird, or whatever our natural reaction is, curse them out. You stop and you go, okay, come back into your heart, and you just start breathing into it. And I'll take you all through this little experience. It's so beautiful and so simple. And you connect to an emotion. So again, like say if you're highly agitated, it's really hard to go from agitated to, say, gratitude. Like that's a big jump. So I tell my clients, all you got to do is connect to calm, or connect to neutral. That's it, just neutral. And already you're going to feel this shift, and you're going to feel that coherence. You're going to feel it. For me, I feel like a ball of energy right here. I just feel it. And it's just a beautiful feeling. And yeah, it just shifts everything. So I think I got off topic there a little bit. I get a little
No,
passionate.
no, no, no. It's so perfect. It was just perfect where you went with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I love how you're talking about getting the feedback
yes, the
so that
feedback, that's the word I was looking for.
you know what it feels like in your body. And then that
Yeah,
feedback allows you to
to
just
duplicate it.
know it,
Yeah,
duplicate it. Yes.
exactly. On call, anytime you want to. And the more you do it, because it feels so good and you feel so amazing that you just want to do it all the time, which is even better because then what you're doing, not only are you shifting your energy, right, into a renewed state, you're healing your body. Your body's going into that parasympathetic state. You're regenerating your cells. Your immune system's going through the roof. You're creating that, I think it's called IgA, immunoglobulin A, which is a super, bacteria virus fighter. So yeah, it's just amazing.
Yeah. And, I love what you were saying about the actual physical sensation you get, because when I first started, really focusing on the heart, whether it was HeartMath or doing the very beginning of my Dr. Joe Dispenza journey, when I first started doing the work, I could tune into the heart, but it
Yeah,
wasn't like I was getting a sensation there. And then the
yeah,
more I did the work, the more I trained my body, the more my body was responding with these
yes,
incredible,
yes.
beautiful vibrations. And yeah, and then
I mean, look at me, I'm grinning ear to ear
I
because I
know,
know exactly what you're
and
saying.
and it's I had the most amazing experience at the retreat in Malta before COVID, where my heart expanded so much. I
Oh,
got the sensation, and you can relate to this because you're a mom, and all the other moms might be able to relate to this. My heart expanded so much, it felt like that same sensation when you're still nursing your babies, that when the baby needs the milk, you get the
yeah,
letdown tingling. So I
yeah.
was in the middle of a meditation and getting this tingling as my heart expanded out,
Wow,
like
that's so beautiful.
so far. And I was like, whoa.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, that's so great. And it's interesting because a lot of my clients, they haven't done this type of work, this energy healing work and just sort of tuning in. And so when I introduce it to them, they're really fascinated by seeing how they kind of go into the red, which is a low coherence, and then they have a thought or feeling and they shift right into green, which is a high coherence. And they're doing this, they're like, okay, now I kind of get it, but it takes practice like anything else you do. So it takes practice, but the more you do it, the more you feel it, the more you recognize it. And yeah,
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
beautiful.
And it's also about enjoying the journey, right?
Yeah, yeah,
It's about enjoying your own opening, because
yeah,
it's real easy for us to compare ourselves, whether it's to a mentor or a teacher or someone that we perceive has their shit together or
yeah.
more evolved than us. But it's
Mhm.
it's really about enjoying where you are at the moment and
Absolutely.
trusting that you're opening, right? Like
Yeah,
you're trusting that you're on this journey, right?
absolutely. Yeah. And that's
Mm.
all it is. I mean, we are on this journey, and everybody's at a different place. And there's no good and there's no bad. It just is. And that's the beauty of it. There's no judgment. Like wherever you're at is where you need to be. And that's what you're experiencing. So it's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
And ultimately, so I'm a confidence coach. That's sort of my forte because of what I went through with my experience. And connecting here to the heart and connecting that heart-brain coherence, you have no choice but your confidence to shift. Because once again, when you connect to that quantum field, that greater source of intelligence, of unconditional love, you want for nothing because you're so whole. So it's just beautiful. And then you couple that with RTT and you heal that inner child and you heal those subconscious blocks that have been sort of limiting you through your life. Like if, for instance, I have a client who wants to put themselves out there in their business, but they really don't want to be visible. So it's a confidence thing, either the fear of being judged. And so we go back and we heal those parts of them where basically in school, they were bullied. spit on, this sort of stuff happens. And at such a young age, it's traumatizing. Any type of strong emotion gets programmed right into your brain. And nonetheless, between ages of 0 and 8, all you're doing is that you're in downloading mode, right? You just download everything. So these things stick, and all your brain or your mind wants to do is protect you from it. So moving into your adult life, you're like, oh, I really want to, promote myself here or promote myself there. But your subconscious mind is going, no, because you may get spit on, you may get judged, you might get bullied. And so it holds you back. So when we heal that part of you, or me, or all of us, when we heal that part of us, it all of a sudden just evaporates. And you're now able to just put yourself out there, do whatever it is, you were always wanting to do. So it's really fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's, as we diffuse the emotion, it gives us more bandwidth.
Yes.
To step up.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You have so much more energy to create with, as opposed to just sit there worrying, right? Like worry and all of those emotions take up, again, energy draining, take up so much of your energy. And then you only have so much left to create with. But when that's healed, all you have is creation. So yeah, beautiful.
So Joann, you had mentioned before we started that you wanted to walk everyone through a little coherence exercise.
Sure. Yeah.
What do they need to get to be comfortable? Can you tell people how they should set up, or
yeah, absolutely. So I think to start, it's great to just get in a comfortable position. But moving forward, if you continue practicing it, just know you can do this anywhere. You can do this eyes open, eyes closed. I tell my clients, actually, pick a daily routine that you do. Say if it's brushing your teeth, or every time you wash your hands, which is great right now with COVID because we're washing our hands constantly. Do this work, eyes open. And I'll take you through it so you know what I mean. But you can do it for a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. I say to start, do it maybe 3 or 4 minutes a day, and do it 3 times a day. You can do it while you're driving. So don't feel limited, like you have to get into a sort of a meditation position to do this work. That's the whole point of it, is it's very simple and you can take it everywhere with you. But for now, yeah, get comfortable and I'll guide you through it. So yeah, you can go ahead and close your eyes. And right now, I just want you to focus on the area of your heart center or your physical heart. Just focus your energy there. And start to breathe right into that heart center. A little slower and a little deeper than normal. And I want you to literally feel the breath moving in and out of that heart center. And finding a comfortable pace for yourself. And then connecting to a renewing emotion. And that can start as calm or neutral. And you can shift that to something even more elevated, like gratitude or compassion or care or love. And you can use a person, a pet, or special place for inspiration. But the key here is to not just think of it, but to truly feel it. Feel the emotion of whatever that elevated experience is for you. And we'll just do this for a couple of minutes. So still focusing on that breath. It's a little deeper and a little slower than normal. Comfortable pace. And just connecting to that renewing emotion. You can go ahead and open your eyes. And I just want you to check back in with yourselves and tell me how you're feeling. How are you feeling now as opposed to when we first started? And if there's a shift.
So I feel completely calm just from that beautiful, like how many minutes was that? That was only like a couple minutes.
Yeah, just a couple minutes. And that's all it takes. Yeah. So that's why I say it's such a simple thing, but it just creates such a big impact and shift.
Yeah.
And so I always tell my clients, use this in 3 different ways. Use it to prep. So say you have an interview or you're meeting with a client or you're having a meeting with your teenage son to discuss his grades. Use it to prep, use it to shift and reset. So for instance, that guy in traffic cuts you off, or your neighbor spilled his chemicals on your lawn and you don't use chemicals on your lawn. I don't. And, initially you'd be irritated, but do that breath work, just a little bit of that, and you'll shift into a different state. And then when you approach him, it's going to be a completely different conversation than if you didn't do that technique. And then the last way is to sustain. So if you're already feeling amazing, like you're on a high, like you're just feeling loved and gratitude, do it anyway, because what that's going to do is sustain it. So 3 ways: to prep, shift and reset, or to sustain. And the more you do it more often, I would love it if you all could practice with your eyes open. So that way you don't feel you have to sort of retreat. You could be say you're in a board meeting and you've got 10 other people around you and you're getting irritated. You don't have to close your eyes and sit there and sort of meditate it away. Eyes open, just start the breath and start connecting to that elevated emotion. And once again, everything is going to shift for you. You're going to have a lot more patience. You're going to feel a lot more peaceful, and you're going to feel a lot more connected to everyone else.
Yeah. Yeah. It does completely shift the way that being in groups, group dynamics play out.
Absolutely. And there's some other little things that you can kind of throw in there. You can radiate that feeling to other people. So there's a lot of other stuff you can do with it. But yeah, that simple little quick coherence technique is just fantastic.
Yeah. And I think that's the beauty of HeartMath. It's so simple, but people can dive deeper into it and learn the other techniques that kind of move on from that most foundational.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been doing this for years, and I got to tell you, the one that I use the most is that quick coherence technique. I use it all the time, and it just creates such a big impact, big shift that I really don't need anything else.
Yeah. And what I find interesting on this whole heart journey that I've been on the last few years is, 4 years ago, trying to access a memory, because, HeartMath is using, a memory or a person to access that. And 4 years ago, it was difficult for me to find something that I could tap into to elicit that emotion, right? That elevated state. And then what was interesting was, as my life shifted and more amazing things started happening because I was in my heart more. Now I have so many amazing things, memories, people. That bring those elevated emotions, that it's like, oh, which one do I choose today?
Yeah. And, I'm sure a lot of the people that are watching this right now might actually be in that same boat where they feel like they really don't have access to those feelings. And so this is still available to you. Again, you can connect to just calm, connect to neutral. And I say the next step up from there is care. Just connect to something that you care about. It doesn't have to be this huge gratitude and joy and bliss. Something that, or appreciation, something that you appreciate. That's it. Something really simple. And that's enough to shift you.
Yeah. Well, and also back another technique that I found before HeartMath and before heart-centered, meditations and things is in Eden energy medicine. you know, and this video can be found online. There's a technique called tapping in joy, so that anytime you find yourself experiencing joy, you just tap your third eye. And what it does is it imprints that into your nervous system, into your brain. And I think that was pivotal for me, because that was at a high stress time I found that tool. And I think starting there even laid the foundation for me to begin to access that for the heart as well. So
oh, that's awesome. Definitely. That's great.
So, well, do you have anything else you want to share with people that you're feeling called to share right now before we wrap up?
Let's see. I mean, if anything, I'm a huge believer in everything is love. Everything is based in the heart, and we were previously sort of led to believe that everything is based in the brain. And I don't sign on to that. So I would say, if anybody out there is sort of going through stuff and they need some healing done, and they don't exactly want to hire a coach, or they don't want to take on these, big modalities, tap into your heart. It's so simple. Just lead from the heart. Trust in the heart. If you need to make a decision and you're overwhelmed, quiet down for a second, tap into your heart, ask the question, and what would your heart say? That's what I would say. What would my heart say in this moment? Not what my head would say. What would my heart say? And that's the answer for you. So use that tool, because we are all born with it, this innate ability to really just tap in and surrender to our heart intelligence. So use it, abuse it to the fullest amount. Love yourself, love everyone around you, and just really, truly experience yourself in the present moment.
Beautiful. So Joann, will you just tell people where they can find you? We will have the links below the video, but for anyone who's just listening right now, could you just let us know how to find you?
Absolutely. So I have a website. It's www.thejoflow.com. That's JOFLOW.com. I'm all about the flow state. We didn't even get into that today. You can find me on Instagram at _JoFlow, and Facebook, the JoFlow, same thing. All around. I would love to connect with you all. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to DM me, message me on my website. I'm happy to chat.
Great. Thank you, Joann. Thank you for
you're so welcome.
Thank you for making the time. Like, I know you were traveling last week, so thank you for making the time to be here with us today. I just loved it.
No problem. My pleasure. And Sheila, it's just been so great to meet you. And I know you and I are actually going to meet in person sometime. I know we are.
Definitely. Definitely. I look forward to that.
Yes, so do I.
And actually, when you were saying that, we didn't even touch on the flow, the Joe flow. Yeah. So I think we might need to do another interview.
Yes, definitely. Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And thank you, everyone, for joining our conversation today with Joann Fuller. I hope you all enjoyed the heart coherence technique that she taught us, and that you'll be able to use that as a tool in your daily life to help you navigate what's happening right now. So we look forward to more great interviews, and thank you, Joann, and we'll see you in the next video.
Absolutely. Love you all.
Bye for now.